Well, Emmanuel Mok is here with us. He's the National Chairman, National Transformation Party, also a public affairs analyst. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you.
Well, let me quickly pick up on that point which Chukuma made about punctuality. Yeah. To the extent that, I mean, almost everywhere you go, there's this phraseology, African time, and you wonder, where did they get all of these things from? And I think it would be good to see that that effect go on whichever assignments or functions that they have got to attend. They arrive on time, start on time, and finish on time, and people move on.
Very true, very true. We pray that Nigeria gets it right in most of these indices that help efficiency and good governance and success. And one of them is time, because as they say, your time is your life. And if you keep wasting time as we do in Nigeria, you get a function that on the IVs, 11 a.m., you get there by 11, sometimes you are waiting 1 o'clock. The event has not even started. By 1, they start apologizing that, please hold on, we are waiting for a few people.
And in many of those cases, they're either waiting for the ministers or waiting for the top government officials.
Yes, even in private functions, a wedding, maybe they're even waiting for the bride and groom. It just doesn't make sense. You know, these are things we need to deal with. I pray the President Buhari will take it very seriously. If he can, I saw one governor, I think 5 or 6 or so, punish some of the senior executives of the state who came late. And you saw them lying down and begging. Things like that should be done. People should be punctual. It's important, really.
Do you think
waste other people's time.
Do you think our fight against corruption may even affect those other areas as well?
It must affect every area of our life. It must affect every area of our life. That's it. If we're fighting corruption, corruption is a hydra-headed monster, and it affects everything. So we're really going to fight corruption. We're going to be deliberate about it.
What key things should we be doing?
I think the most important thing for us in the fight against corruption is to deliberately put in place codes of conduct, rules. Take like the police or the civil service. There should be a way things are done. And anytime anybody, for whatever reason, does that thing in a way different from the way it's supposed to be done. I'll give you an example. There was a time I was at a business center trying to prepare some documents. And you will not believe that beside me on one of the systems there, they were typing documents marked secret of the NNPC. You know, I had to ask the person typing it, are these official documents or is this 419 you are doing here? And the person said, no, that's the person that brought the documents and they're from NNPC. And I said, why are you doing this kind of, typing this kind of documents in a public place? And he said that your guy at the top said they should do it privately. They don't want it to be. So you see, when people do things shadily, they encourage corruption. Things should be done according to the code, properly within the system. If you do that, you find that a lot of the, darkness covers, people do bad things in darkness, in secret. If you make everything open, you find that in a way you are killing corruption.
What kind of effect do you think the change in the leadership of the EFCC will bring to our fight against corruption?
It really depends on the person, and also it depends on the mentality of the federal government, the spirit of the federal government. Okay?
Is that not shall I say, should that be the case? It depending on the mentality of the federal government?
Well, you see, the problem is you find in Nigeria, take like the Halliburton case. This is a case that has been investigated, the facts are there, but they just don't want to investigate. They don't just want to take the matter to court. So why they're not taking it to court? It cannot be because, in my mind, personally, I don't think it can be Lamode's personal, issue not to take the Halliburton case to court. There must be some other issues that are holding down that matter. And so whoever you make head of EFCC, if the president and the power brokers in Nigeria are interested in a case and they don't want that case to see the light of day, if the person dares go to court with that matter, the next thing you find that they take him out.
What should we do to change that?
Well, sincerely, the only thing we can do is to keep advocating as we are. One, to keep advocating, and maybe sometimes go in protest. I don't want to go talking about this protest going on now, but it's one of the ways we can change things. There are laws, there are ways things should be done. When somebody is going against the laws, the way things should be done. And we as citizens not in government, we don't have power. We can only shout and talk like this, write in the papers.
But we do have power, because it's from us, the people, that those in authority or in those public positions derive their power from.
True. But then when you have elected people into office, the only way for us now to further force them is to protest if they are not doing what we want. Another thing is we can wait for the 4 years for another election and vote them out. But you usually find that 4 years is a very long time if people who are corrupt take over the mantle of leadership and just continue to, line their pockets with it. And so sometimes you find we would have to protest. If you remember in 2010, when unfortunately President Yaradua died, and there was this commotion as to should the vice president be elevated to the office of president and all that. When it seemed as if the powers that be, the people in authority to do, were not willing to. If you remember this organization, I can't remember the name now, by Tunde Bakare, they started a protest that you must do the right thing.
The Save Nigeria group.
The Save Nigeria group, yes. And the moral pressure put on those people by those protests actually brought about them doing the right thing. And that's the only thing we can do now. But Buhari is coming to office on a mantle of, I will fight corruption. But to fight corruption is not just going to be talking about it, because there is ingrained corruption in our processes. See, I was talking with somebody.
And that's a tough one, right?
Yes. See, I was talking with somebody in the banks, an executive in the banks, and we're trying to see how we can find out how the banks can help empower people. Because you have a lot of very poor people. And we're looking at how they can form cooperatives, how they can reach out to you, create this and come. And the person said, be careful which bank you submit your proposals to. That sometimes they will look at your proposal, tell you they cannot do it, take your same proposal, just change the names and a few things, and go and execute it. That's corruption. You know? So, take EFCC now. There is so, sorry I'm going to bring this up, but imagine a case like Amechi's case. I'm bringing it up not because I dislike Amechi or anything, but the fact that in Rivers State, a probe panel had been set up to the point that that probe panel has set and submitted a report and indicts this man with several cases of proven. Can you imagine First Bank came?
Is it a panel, or that the matter was in several courts or in a court?
No, I'm talking about the panel set up by the Rivers State government. Let's forget all the court cases everywhere. But the Rivers State government,
him say that.
No, the Rivers State government set up a panel. That panel even invited First Bank. Now, First Bank is a corporate entity that must protect its name. First Bank came to a public place and provided facts. In fact, at a point, First Bank said that the board of First Bank trustees also had to refuse some of the demands for payments because they said the demands were coming against the set down rule by which those payments should be made. So that's what I'm telling you. We have corruption in so many places. If this government wants to fight it, it will really help this country. But it's not what they are doing now. You are fighting Saraki on the basis of a code of conduct with all the corruption everywhere. Then the next person is Orubebe. It becomes a joke for me, for something as important as fighting corruption in Nigeria.
Why? I mean, and those, because they say that those cases are on their merit.
That's what I'm saying. Good. The cases are on their merit. But they are a joke.
Why do you say they're a joke?
Okay. Look at Lagos State now. It's reported that Fashola's government, though he said he didn't sign the check, that Fashola's government executed a contract for a website or something like that for 70-something million. And people have shouted anywhere else in the world.